All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Revolutionary Talk. I know it's been a little minute, but we trying to get back on track. I'm so loud. I'm a little loud. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, make a little adjustment. All right, before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, share our YouTube channel. Follow us at Black Empowerment Movement. Check out our website at bemovement.org. Today, our special guest is Ples of the Oakville Veggie Project. So we're gonna be talking to him today about what he's going on and what he's doing in the community, doing some major things. So if you want to just introduce the people to who you are and what is the Oakville Veggie Project?
Right on. So Ples Montgomery the Fourth. I am the harbinger for the Oak Cliff Veggie Project. Native son of Oak Cliff, and the Veggie Project is a initiative to empower the community to build, to cultivate a healthier, stronger, and more self-reliant community. That's our official mission statement. So we are looking to do that through reintroduction of the practice of community cultivation, which was always a part of a very close-knit Black community since the advent of the freedmen's town, right after the formerly enslaved people had to figure out how to fend for themselves and build and live in this country.
Okay. So how did you start the project?
Actually, my mother started the project.
Okay.
My mother, Betty Montgomery, you've seen her all over the pictures and the social media stuff. Yeah. She, it was her calling, that she calls in her own words. She heard a word to feed the people. She was a nurse for most of her career, and this is, I believe that this is an extension of that work that she was always called to care for people, and this is how she has moved on, taking it to a different level. So she started about 2015. And I was able to, my work schedule wouldn't allow me to help initially until about 2017, really. I helped out every once in a while, but 2017 was really, I was able to kind of dive into it and say, hey, if we really trying to make an impact, let's make an impact. So I started going to community meetings, city meetings, to find out anything that had to do with urban agriculture, and food access in the city of Dallas, specifically in the Oak Cliff area and the areas that are defined as food deserts. From there, it just kind of took off. I was in the right place at the right time, met the right people for us to get some of the resources we needed to start our first community garden, get access to more food that we could distribute to the community, and now we're at the point of really ramping up some education programs. Yeah. Because as me and Brother Kentu, was talking a little bit earlier, that that is how you provide empowerment programming. Is to you engage the youth of the community, and that will invariably bring the adults along also, and hopefully we'll see the kind of lasting change that we really want to see created.
So you and your mother, like, do y'all have a background with gardening or with networking, with bringing food into the city? Like, where did this come about with, like, just picking up the ground with getting food?
We actually do not have a background in that. It's not like when I was a kid, we kept a garden or anything like that. It's just, like I said, my mother got the word to feed the community, so she started working with an online food co-op and taking her own money to purchase it and set up a table, with a sign that said free produce. And I was working in corporate travel at the time, actually, and had an opportunity through a guy that I met at, shout out to Andrew Sanders with Feed Oak Cliff, was an original group that we kind of, she saw my mother off the corner there one weekend and invited her to an event called the Dallas Veg Fest, which is a health and wellness festival that happens every September at Keys Park in Oak Cliff. It's the only kind of event of its kind really in the food desert area. It was one of the earliest events that goes on that's about those kind of things for the community. So when we were there, I met a brother that was starting a hydroponic company. And between what I had already learned with getting the Veggie Project up and running, like, I was like, well, I studied advertising and marketing. Like, they brought me on to be the kind of the marketing manager and the brand designer for this hydroponic farm. Now, the company ended up failing, not failing, but failure to launch. Like, never really got past the startup phase. The two guys that had started it were on different pages as far as where the company was going. So I learned it was a great lesson in business and what to do and what not to do and how to handle people and those kind of things, right? Um, so that's what got me involved in it. And after that, I set about educating myself in all things that had to do with agriculture. So I worked at Fresh Point, which is one of the largest food distribution companies in the country. I worked at Ann's Health Food Center, which is a local store that does supplements and organic produce. Um, I started volunteering up at Big Tech's Urban Farm at Fair Park, which they have a hydroponic farm there, a hydroponic greenhouse there, and these outdoor movable kind of raised beds. And basically just kind of gave myself an experiential or hard knock education in agriculture.
So you jumped in to learn all of this while after the program was started?
Yes.
Okay. So you was like, man, I gotta get in here and learn stuff from from putting in the work and seeing other people that have different connections to food and go work with them. Okay.
Yeah.
Building that network.
And see what the city was doing, and I mean, really, if we were gonna do it, I had the conversation with my mom. I was like, we're gonna have an impact. Like,
Right.
I set about finding out what I needed to know so we could have the proper impact.
Can you explain to people what hydroponic is?
Yeah, absolutely. So hydroponics is it's a system of growing where you you basically take the soil out of the equation, and you are able to, the real term should actually be controlled environment agriculture. And that's when you take your growing process from outside and you bring it inside. And in that way you can control the entirety of as it says, you control the entirety of the environment. So you're not as susceptible to pest damage. And then if there's a drought or a lack of sunshine for a certain amount of time, then you can control all the inputs. You can give the plants exactly what they need in order to grow at a rate you want them to grow, and in the abundance that you want them to grow in. Drawbacks is that everything can't be grown in hydroponics. So it's basically, instead of using soil, there's these different mediums called substrates that you plant your seed into, and they hold the root of the plant and allow it to come out. And then the roots are submerged in water. So imagine like a fish tank with a foam board on top of it and some holes in that foam board. And the holes will have one of your substrates, like a coconut core husk or something called rock wool. You plant your seed in that, and then the roots grow into the water, into the tank part, right? And then you pump the nutrients and oxygen into the tank the same way you would for a fish.
Oh, wow.
And so the roots are able to pull up through that, and then if you're inside, of course, you give them some LED light, and you can even control the spectrum of light that you give them so that they are receiving the exact portion of the spectrum of light that they need in order to grow as fast as possible.
So let me ask you this. So the name of our broadcast is called Revolutionary Talk, right? Of course.
Yep.
To you, what is revolutionary about what are you doing?
So what's revolutionary about it is the difference, like we were talking a little bit earlier about between, we are a nonprofit, but some nonprofits are charity programs, and other nonprofits and mutual aid organizations and community groups are empowerment programs, just like Black Empowerment Movement. The difference in those types of programs is like a father figure, somebody coming in and saying, okay, you can't do this yourself, so here, we're going to be here to take care of you. The other program comes in and says, you can take care of yourself, let me help you, and allow me to help you in doing this and building a better, changing your lifestyle so that you no longer you're no longer in the situation that you were originally finding yourself in. And that to me is what revolution is all about. It's about changing systems, changing states of mind. Like the brother said, the revolution will not be televised, and that's because that change is happening. It's in your head first, and it can't be televised. It has to be acted out. It's going to be live, and so that's why I feel like the work that we are doing is in that same vein, in reintroducing something, an idea and a practice of self-sufficiency that has to do with health and wellness, and having control of that. Like if you're at war with somebody, if they're in control of all of your resources, your water, your your metal to make your guns,
Yeah.
your whatever, your food, all this stuff, then you'll never be able to defeat this opponent, right?
Right.
So that is directly in the spirit of revolution. Like revolutions are about overturning systems,
Yeah.
and they're very often about land in a very physical, like visceral manner. So this is a return to the land, even if we're using hydroponics, still a return to the land, and a return to ourselves and our health and our wellness, so that we have strong minds to form the revolution and build it.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So how the people are like, you know, reacting to this, like with your efforts in the community? How's the actual people in the community responding to it?
I'd say we're getting we've seen a very positive response. I haven't seen any negative responses to anything that we've been doing. I'm sure there's always somebody who is like back in the background watching like, I can't wait for them to fail, or hoping that you're not going to be able to make these changes, because they have a vested interest in whatever power structure they're a part of and keeping that in place, right? So we have been very well received by the community. That's and truly it's truly appreciated. Like we had no idea how big this thing was going to get, or what it was gonna become. It really is. I mean, that in and of itself is revolutionary. When you start into something and this was never what your plan was for your life, So that's why, that's another reason why it's revolutionary to me. But the embrace that we've got from the community, I truly love it. We've met so many great people, other community organizations that are doing the same thing, like Black Empowerment Movement. We got For Oak Cliff over there. Commissary is very necessary. Even people that have businesses like Brother Shaw over there with the Alkaline Hour. Yeah. Like, he's not a nonprofit, but the work that he is doing, the business that he's chose to be in, has to do with the health and the wellness of the community, so that people can take care of themselves and define their own lifestyle and change their lifestyle patterns that have led to the position that we're in right now.
Exactly. Those networks are important, for overall everyone, to build upon. Yeah.
And we're all stuck in, we're behind enemy lines. Like, we're stuck in capitalism, so we gotta, the business aspect is a very important part of it also.
And let me ask you this, like, have any type of city officials reached out to you regarding your programs and the things you're doing?
So yeah, like actually at our start, in Dallas there's a program called the Mayor Star Council. And one of the earliest meetings that I went to was a meeting that one of their representatives was at, and that's how we actually got the first set of boxes and tools that we needed to build our first community garden. So and we sit in the district where Councilman Thomas is the councilman there, and they're not, I can't say they've been very active, but we do have an open dialogue with them, and have been called into to discuss some of the plans for urban agricultural activity within the city of Dallas, as part of this plan that they have to change things by like 2050 and like to end the.
So it's good they bring you in they
bring people in from the community. Yeah. Now how much they listen and change things, like, that's something else. Like,
do you feel like they listening, or?
Not always. Like maybe 90% of the time I feel like they're not listening. And even some of the people
photo ops.
Just not always photo. Well, a lot of it is photo ops, yeah. And it's just a matter of what they feel like they can do and what they're beholden to. Like, I don't know a ton about the politics of Dallas, and I'm truly not super interested in it, because I know people who, like, I know folks who are not citizens of this country, right? But they have built their lives. They've built an entire life for themselves. So some of and this goes back to the talk about revolution, right? Some of these ideas that we espouse within the Black community about what's going to work as far as executing a revolution and making these changes that we want to see. Like, I feel like some of it's not necessary. Like, this whole idea of asking for permission in certain areas, and like, let's play by this supposed rule book that's supposed to be fair. Like, those ideas are maybe outdated, is a good word to say it, is a good way to put it, and it's something that we we want to be respectful, like, and again, this goes back to the empowerment thing. Like, you don't just come into somebody's community, and I'm from Oak Cliff, but Oak Cliff is a very large area. So I'm not from. There's areas of Oak Cliff that if I go there, I'm not necessarily from that portion of Oak Cliff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not. I know that I shouldn't be just going in there and saying, y'all don't know what you're doing. This is what you're supposed to do. I have a skill set, and do I want to come in? Do I want to see it? What I can bring to the table, employ it? Yes, but I can't just go in there and tell them that this is what you can do and not do it. And that's how the politicians act. They're like, this is what it's going to be, and this is what you can and can't do, and the like. This is a good example.
Okay.
In Dallas, right? The way that they distribute the money for some of the city services like road repair. You have to call the city and tell them that there's a big pothole in the road. And if enough people from this area of the city, like this district, don't call in and say, we need this road fixed, when they go to allocate money, they will not allocate money unless there has been a certain number of complaints. Like, where else that seems counterintuitive to me, especially when you have a whole force of people employed to go out into the city and make sure that things like that are doing. But meanwhile, what are they doing? They're going to see whether you have your pile of trash is too big, or whether you have your trash cans have been sitting out in front of your house for too long. Like, what does that matter when I drive down my street, I can't get to work because I blow my tire out every other week, and you're in your truck driving around, like, why are you not following out those are city services that they should be focused on, but that get ignored. So, like, when something is, the only way I can get action is if I complain. Seems like a counterintuitive system to what to a system that empowers the community members to really have some input in what it's doing. Because like, if somebody comes to you just complaining about something, how apt are you to help them out about it, right? Especially if they've been and then right, as a community member now, I have to make myself a nuisance to you. Like, that should not be the exchange between the political structure and the community, when I have to bug you to get something done, right? Or as we all know, come in with the right amount of dollars in my pocket and say, hey, I need you to get this done. Can we get this done? That's not how it should. That's not how it's supposed to be working, I don't think.
And let me ask you this regarding that. Beyond Dallas, do you see the Oak Cliff Veggie project like expanding out to like any other areas, or you plan on really just focusing on in the Oak Cliff area?
No, we are definitely expanding. Like, I spent many years in school down at University of Houston, and I've met in doing this work. Like you say, it's not only that people know about us now, I know about other people who are out doing this stuff in the community, right? And not just here in Dallas. Like, there's great examples in Atlanta, in Houston, in Detroit, in many other cities. And these are Black and brown led organizations that have spent as many years as it took to get these urban agricultural operations off the ground in order to combat the food apartheid that's been happening in their local area. And there's a great history of the stealing of Black farmland, and there's a great resurgence happening right now. There's a great group on Facebook that I'm a part of, and you see these beautiful Black people that are going back and, like, they're purchasing their ancestors' land and their grandparents and keeping on in that tradition, or getting their own land and saying, hey, I just got this land, I'm thinking about farming, what can I do to start it? And these great discussions of love and community happen in that space. So we are definitely, while we are definitely focused on our area, because that's what you do. You have to you focus in on a certain area, you learn your craft, and then you can take it to somewhere else and start expanding it and working with other people. So, but at the same time, learning very much from some of the other examples out there. Brother Maliki Kenny up in Detroit has been in the mix for longer than I've been alive, and so he's a great example and mentor of mine to look to and see how they were able to make these kind of changes in their community, and we can use those same lessons here. And then hopefully, as we expand our programming, we'll be able to show other communities in the same fashion. So that kind of expansion is what we're looking at.
And I know some of the people probably thinking like, what are some of the produce and things you provide to the community? Like,
So we try to mix it up right now because we get a lot of our produce. Some of it's donated from some local farms that we work with, some farms that are here locally, and a few that are just outside of Dallas. And then a lot of it we do purchase from some of the local wholesale distributors, which they get a lot of their produce from Mexico and California area.
yeah. So
But
you had the good stuff. I know a lot of time we get stuff sometime and people like, I don't want that stuff. You remember Jessica, like when we had those little bags?
I mean,
We
it
had-
was like it was like onions, potatoes, stuff like that.
Oh, that was during last year when those boxes that the USDA put out, and it was like the same thing every time, like
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
carrots
it
and
was
onions.
the same thing.
I mean, we actually try to give out the same, not the same kind of thing, but some of those things are staples. You know, potatoes, onions,
Yeah.
carrots. Like you make a meal out of that with some rice. You know,
People
what
will
I'm
be fond of it.
No, they didn't want that. They wanted they didn't want that.
Well, and see, that's one of the other things is the what it is that's being brought into the community. So we try to bring in things that are healthy, and then we're also making a more concerted effort to work with local nutritionists, local cooks, people who have food-based businesses, and introduce more recipes. Like when we first started, for instance, right. Since the advent of the pandemic, we've been running stuff in like a drive-through fashion. That's how the program has worked. You pull up and we put the bag in your car. Before that, we had a farmer's market style setup where all the food was out. You pull up, sign in, get a bag, and then you go down and pick out what you want based on what we had. And we would really want to get back to that because this was a staple of the program in the first place. If there's a line of people behind you and only so much food sitting out here and it's being given out for free, instead of being in this mindset, this goes back to revolution, right? Instead of being in this mindset, like, let me take as much as I can because there's other people here, or because there's only so much of this. Like, change that to, instead of that thought, change it to let me take only what I know, what I need, and what I can handle. And because there's only so much here, and because there are other people that may be in the exact same position that I am, even though I don't know this person, we want to change that mindset so that there's enough to go over. Like there is, like we live, the truth of the matter, we live in abundance. Capitalism and you know the racism, white supremacy tells you that things are scarce. That there's not enough. Like, but no, like that is the lie that supports all of these
right, because we see things go to waste all the time.
Exactly. The food industry in and of itself has a 40% waste
and they'll
ratio.
try to stop you from getting the stuff they about to throw away.
Exactly, because the laws are set up. The laws tell them that they have to throw it away.
Right.
Like, so again, now we're back to these backwards situations of the political structure putting in laws that don't have anything to do with the best interests of the community, right? So that's how we started the food distribution program, and it led to community members meeting each other that hadn't seen each other for a while, discussions about recipes. If we had a piece of produce that somebody didn't know how to cook, now we have another discussion going on because we can start exchanging recipes and talking about, oh, well, this is how you cook it just like this. You take it and do it just like you would a collard green, or take it and do it just like this. So that is what, again, when you ask about like what revolution is, like that, this is what revolution is. These kind of conversations and meeting spaces happening where we are able to better ourselves collectively and not being told this is what you need to do because you're not smart enough, you're not this enough to take care of yourself, and you need to be spoon-fed everything.
So what's the overall goal? Oakville Veggie project. What is the goal you want to accomplish with the program?
Our goal is to turn the neighborhood one of them is to eradicate the food deserts in Dallas and beyond. Definitely the Fort Worth area. Like I want to. One of the other goals is to bridge this like gap between Dallas and Fort Worth, especially amongst the community-minded empowerment organizations. Right. We're all in the same position, so we have the same kind of work to do. Turning the community back into something that it looked like before, where there are more people growing their own food and exchanging that food amongst each other, and that food goes into the local food infrastructure in and of itself, right? So whether it's an actual farm that's operated by a school or operated by a nonprofit, or whether you're just growing in your backyard, that all of that food should be able to get into the local food infrastructure. And then last and certainly not least is the education portion, is to make sure that every K through every education institution, K through 12, and really even at the community college level, has an agricultural component to it, where there is a garden on site, or there's a garden within walking distance of the school, and that way the children have access to grow. Because kids they can grow up in a house where the parents was like, oh, Brussels sprouts, we don't eat that, or broccoli, we don't eat that. But if they grow it themselves, they'll eat it.
Yeah.
And that's how you change mindsets and thought processes about stuff, so that you're not just lusting after whatever you see you're being told to eat that's good
Right.
on the TV and made to look like you're gonna have a good time because you're eating it, because they didn't put all what kind of chemicals into it that they know activate your taste buds to activate the same addiction centers in your brain that other things are connected to, right? Because all that stuff happens in the food industry as well. That's why one of my colleagues, Darcia Houston, she's a wellness coach, farmer, wellness coach, dietitian, and will tell you, like, when you go to the grocery store, you want to stay on the outside aisles, and even because most of the stuff in the middle, with the exception of like the spice aisle and the bacon aisle and such, that's all your processed food. Like, it's gone into a building. They did some stuff to it and box it up, and then they put it out in front of you using these advertising techniques of color and wordplay and form to make you feel like you were making a good decision when you buy it.
That's deep.
That's why I studied in school is advertising. And when you get to studying it, like, you learn how much of a brainwash it actually, like, it truly is designed to be. Like, literally is designed to make you think about something and want something, even if you don't need it, even if it's bad for you, all of that.
Wow. So you think this is sustainable? What you're doing? You think it's sustainable?
It is absolutely. We have not quite put together the full equation that will allow it to be sustainable in the way that we want it to operate. But we're getting very close, and we're having the kind of input. We're getting the kind of input back from the community to show us where we need to tighten up, as they say, to make it something that is sustainable. Because even as we don't want it to be sustainable as a charity program. We want it to be sustainable as an empowerment structure and blueprint for the community. So eventually, it's like, okay, we want the community to be so engaged in this that we're not even needed, but we would still be a part of it because all these activities are now happening collectively within the community.
Right.
You want to say something?
No, I was just saying, right?
But but I was about to say, like, like, it's like any other organizations. Of course, we reach out to you. Is any other organization that's been trying to work with you or get involved as well, or it's just, man, y'all out there solo dolo on your own?
Oh no, we are again, our philosophy is cooperation over competition, and that is in direct revolutionary defiance to this idea that competition is the driver of innovation and society and capitalism and all these things. When you really look at existence as a whole, there is it's a cooperative existence. Like, everything needs everything else in order to be. Period. And so we work with. One of our first community partners is a group called Harvest Project Food Rescue, led by Danea Gutierrez. She's a beautiful human, has done so many great things with that program. It's actually where they go to the host that we talked about this before, this waste, where they're forced to throw things away, and so they capture that produce and then are able to redirect it. So you sort through it and see what's still good and edible. Whatever's not edible for humans goes to animals, and then whatever even worse than that goes into a compost program. So there's no waste, and that's how existence actually is. There's nothing gets wasted. We are the only creatures that have the audacity to look at ourselves and say we can create, to look at something and say, okay, I can make this, and then if it doesn't work, then we just toss it, and it's trash. It doesn't have any use anymore. And nothing else in nature.
It's crazy that you said that. I like that saying, like you said, no competition. We all in this together basically, because that's one of the drawbacks of working. Sometimes run into people that's like don't want to work with you, or they feel like they in competition against you. Uh, so that's good that a lot of the organizations you run into, like, they willing to work with you, because you get a lot more done when you working together with other organizations. That's why I like the Oakville Veggie project, because I see you work with other people in the same spaces of community gardens and giving food out. It seems like y'all can do a lot more working together, which I see that y'all are. Because you work with another group in Dallas too. I forgot the name of them. They do like farming and produce as well. I forgot the name of I seen them on Instagram.
Is it CIVN, Commissary?
No, it's another group that I saw in Dallas. It was on Instagram, Dallas something.
Dallas Urban Farm?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's that brother's name? Kendall.
Yeah.
He's actually more of a rancher is not the right word, but he works with animals like rabbits and pigs and that kind of like these things that we use for their meat, right? So we don't limit ourselves to just like urban agricultural organizations. Again, 4 Oak Cliff is one of our big partners there, but there's a group called Dallas Liberation Movement that started as a mutual aid organization. There's like I really love working with the small scale, the real grassroots
and that might
organizations
be them
that don't even have they don't have any they may not even have aspirations to become a nonprofit or and work in that same manner, because that's their revolutionary stance. Like, we don't have to be a nonprofit to get this good work done for the community. There's one called Say It With Your Chest that works with the houseless population. They wash clothes for them. They help to make sure that they get meals, and they have
that's them. Because I seen it on Instagram. They was washing. They go to pick up people clothes and they wash it. Is it just random people or homeless people? Or
it's mostly the houseless population. Because that like just something as simple as that to help that person feel a different way about themselves, and may push them to do some of the things that they want to do, whether it has to do with getting off the streets or moving on to a different type of lifestyle, right? Those little things that you reach out, like, you never know how much something as simple as that, even simpler than that, affects a person's life, whatever their situation is. And that's why we started with this kind of giving of the free food baskets, because you never know what somebody's situation is, whether they pull up in a, say a 20-year-old pickup truck, or they pull up in a brand new Mercedes. Like, that Mercedes might have, they at one point they was like, you know what, I'm good, I can do this. And then a year later, next month even, like, so these type of programs allow people to be without being too much without causing them like to be in the shame of that comes with asking for help. Like, and the fact that we live in that the society has pushed us to this point where we feel ashamed to ask for help when we really truly need it. Like, this, again, it goes back to this idea of cooperation over competition, because just because you have to ask for help and now you're looking at others who don't have to ask for help, you feel like you're in competition with them. Like, that person ain't got to ask for help. I ain't let nobody know I need help. Like, yeah, let somebody know. We're all here together. Never just by somebody's look, like, you don't know what they're going through.
Let me ask you this. So, how do you see yourself, like, the people we helping, like, whether it be the people we giving food to, or like the other group you just mentioned, taking people clothes, washing them, whatever. How can we get those people engaged? Because at the end of the day, we need those people to get involved. So how you see yourself? I guess per se, what you're doing, how you get the people more involved that you helping?
So that has to do with that. That's the education portion of it, where that you can give out this information about what it is that you're doing, and engage them to ask them if they would like to be a part of it, and if they have a skill or an ambition to be in that work. Because everybody, it's like if a revolution was going to be a real, like, full scale war, like, everybody in the war cannot be a frontline fighter. Like, who's going to tend to the wounded? Who's going to provide Who's going to provide the reloading of the ammo? Who's going to provide food and shelter when the troops need to sleep, right? Who's on reconnaissance, like all those things. So we, in that vein, like we are able to, we talk to people as they come around. Like in the coming year, we're gonna move back towards this the level of distribution that allows us to more engage with the community members and invite and be more inviting of people in. But to this point, like I think that at every engagement level, like whatever events you're doing and the community that you're serving, you take time, like you have to slow it down a little bit and not be like, okay, here's the thing, now go get out of here.
Right.
You have to slow it down and engage and talk with people and not talk with them with a
authoritative.
Again, you're not coming to tell them anything, just really talk with them, see where they at, find out who they are, what they're about. And then you can find out whether this is even something that is for them, because they may have concerns and issues with their life that don't allow them to be a part of it. And if you start right into the, okay, hey, I want to recruit you for my dream, and this is what my goal is to do this, and we need you. If they're not able to do that, if you're in that mindset, you may think about them turning you down as a defeat, like as a loss, or betrayal even, that's really not what the case is,
What you said about the part of the revolution, I think that what you said, that was really deep, because I think sometimes we don't realize how there are hundreds of things that contribute to revolution, and that us being self-sufficient, able to feed ourselves and grow our own food, and able to pull together as a community and provide for one another is a very huge part of being revolutionary. So, because what you do is dope as hell, just FYI. So it's a very great thing, and people may only see it as you giving out food, but that's not all that it is. It's the surface, but when you keep digging and you get deeper, we see that you're providing an actual change in the community and showing people that me, as a black man, I can provide for my people, and my people can eventually get to a point where they are going to step up and stand beside me and provide as well.
When people are ready, like they will. That's what I firmly believe. That when people are ready or willing, they will step up. Like you're not a leader because you stand up and say I'm the leader. Like you become a leader because people choose to rock with what you're talking about.
Right.
And as what you just said about the providing something for the community as a black man, like we have 4 stages really. You're a youth, and then you're a warrior, and if you fulfill your duties as a warrior, you get to become an elder, and then from elder you transition to ancestor, right? And that's in most of the process. Sometimes you transition earlier, right? But the transition from warrior to elder is one of the most important ones, because everybody doesn't get the status of elder. There are some people who are elders in the community, and there's other people who are
just old.
You just old.
You just old. You ain't no elder.
It sounds.
They providing that wisdom.
All right. It's hard to say it like that, but it's a part of it, because of the nature of it's just the nature of the beast that we exist in, right? So as a warrior, I feel like I'm definitely still in the warrior category, and so my job is to provide, protect, and prepare. And that is what we are. I feel like that's what we're doing with the Veggie project.
Yeah, man, because I think what you're doing is not too many people doing, and once more eyes get on what you're doing, I think you're gonna have a bushfire. People across the country they're gonna start coming to you, trying to get the blueprint on how to do it, because it's a good thing, because you got all these black cities across the country that are food desert. Like the Oak Cliff area is the same blueprint in every city that is a food desert. So everyone needs to be trying to look at your model. I know you still perfecting your model, but I'm sure you already know that it's gonna be a lot of weight on your shoulder, because a lot of eyes gonna be looking at you like, what's the blueprint, and then but which is a good thing, because it needs to be duplicated and reproduced.
Absolutely. My stance on that is, like, I have a portion of the blueprint, and again, this goes back to the cooperation over competition. Like I know this portion that will solidify the structure that we are building, right? And somebody else like up in Detroit, Malik Kenny there, he's got another part of the blueprint. And other farmers come because I've been one of the things that I've been approached by other groups is to come on, and they always say this is Master Gardener Ples, and he does this and that. Like again, I haven't been studying this my whole life. I just kind of this is where I found myself at a conjunction of what I studied at university, where my hometown, and what I'm passionate about, to be able to make a lasting impact and see some change, which that has been my driving goal about stuff. Like I want to be able to create some change, some positive change in the world, and see a different system emerge potentially. I may not get to see it, but if I did some work towards it, so be it. That and in that regard, we have to like I lost my point.
That happens a lot, man.
They-
When you get to spitting that good stuff.
Yes.
But let me ask you this. So like how can other people get involved? They like, man, they may be in other parts of Dallas, Fort Worth, or whatever they may be. How can people get involved? Like, can people get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a cooperation thing.
Okay.
And that goes back to that was the point you were saying, the blueprint.
Yeah.
I do not have the entirety of the blueprint.
Okay.
And one of the things that I always espouse is that if you want some change, you have to be willing to first have that conversation about it. And a lot of things that people want change in, there's this idea of like, let's take Western democracy as an example, right? Everybody is like, they will talk about it as this grand experiment in politics and societal development, right? If it is an experiment, does the evidence show that it has been working as it is ascribed to work, or does the evidence show that it has not been working in that way? And if the answer is choice B, then that means we need to start having conversations about what else can be done that has not been invented yet, because we act as though the school systems that we have right now, and the political structures that we have right now, the military structures, the economic structures, are the best things since sliced bread. Not only the best things that humanity has ever come up with, but almost as if it's the best thing that we will ever come up with. And that's dangerous, because clearly, like there's enough evidence to show that these systems are not equitable, and they are productive, but at what cost? So in that vein, yes, people can get involved. We want people to get involved, and on many levels. I would still consider us a grassroots organization.
Yeah.
We are a full not 501c3 compliant nonprofit, and so in our growth, we need people with skill sets of from marketing to volunteer coordinating, to people who have a green thumb and they want to get out there in the gardens, to people who have teaching experience, to people who have organizational structure, event management experience. Like all of these things can be brought to bear. Now, I will say, let me put this out there, that we are not at a point where we are able to pay anybody for all this stuff yet, because again, we're still behind in the lines, like we're still in capitalism.
Right,
People
exactly.
need, and I firmly believe in, especially in the food industry, I firmly believe that if this is a person's skill, their life work, they should be paid. The farmers, especially, like the farm system is crazy, the way that the value that the individual, whether it be a person, like you're buying food for your home, or you're the chef at a restaurant and you got to buy food to make your meals at your restaurant, or you're buying the produce for a grocery store, that the exchange from farmer to those points to the waste of the food, right?
Yeah.
is all kind of crazy. And the farmer, the person who is putting in the most work, is the least valued across those transactions within capitalism. It's the same thing that happens with teachers, where teachers are like the least valued in this thing that is supposed to be paramount to the development of society. And they're right there on the ground, putting in the work, doing what needs to be done, and they're not valued in that way. So I definitely want to be able to pay people, and so I'm about finding the resources to make that happen again. That's why I call myself the harbinger of this, because I'm like the carrier of it. And I may be the face of it, but I definitely am not a master. I'm not a master farmer. I know hydroponics pretty well, but I know I specifically work with other people who know the soil, and that's the land is always the basis of it, right? So people who know the soil, who are passionate about it, and they say, hey, we want to work with you, like we want to help you. You're providing the opportunity for this to happen. I want to come in and make this happen. Met a wonderful young woman, Ashley Tapia, that came into the organization, and she has helped to transform it and push it so far in just a very short amount of time, and help get things done that if she was not there, and not saying that maybe somebody else could have stepped up and did the same thing, but I love her.
Yeah, it's man, when you have a person that can come into your organization and from the ground, run and inject some new blood into it, man, it's like shit. And I know that feeling.
That's literally how we have survived to even to this day right now. The Veggie project is a complete. The entire operation is done on a voluntary basis. Like we have since when it was just my mom and my dad and me first starting out to today, this moment right now, we don't have any paid staff. 100% of the money that comes in goes to program like infrastructure building and programming operation, like getting the resources we need to pull off the programs as they currently exist.
You definitely have to have a love for the community to volunteer. Like how many volunteers do you usually have?
It depends on what's going on that day, but I'd say on a given Saturday we probably have at least 20 or so people coming out, and that's just that may be people who are just coming for the Veggie project. Like there's a group called Feed the Revolution that makes they make a plant-based lunch. They will come out and make a plant-based lunch for your volunteer event. That way you're able to feed your volunteers a healthy meal rather than going and getting pizza or chicken or whatever. Like you can have
something healthy.
Exactly, and that allows people to expand their minds about things. Like one time they made this dish with beets. And I've never, beets.
I ain't never had a beet, so I never knocked it. So.
I've had it, kind of tasted it, but other people who had it before and kind of like, beets is not my flavor.
And
like
what
I
beetle
can't
juice
get
got his
with
name,
it.
bro?
No, that was a bug.
Beetle, not bud. Beets, not beetle. So
it's late at night, folks.
It was so dope. Like it literally changed people's mindset about beets. Like what could be done with them and how they can be prepared and what the flavor can be like. So those, like, again, that to me, that's revolutionary activity. And you come out and volunteer and you have a meal that you never thought you would have eaten before in your life. Like that changes your mindset. It opens up your perspective and your experience level.
So what did it take to get all, like you mentioned about 5-6 different organizations, like what is it gonna take to get all these people to work together on one accord, get in one room together and plot some shit out? Like you think that'll be helpful if everybody just work together? At least somewhat of the same ideology, like they all come together and create a system where, hey, we're gonna move as one. Yeah. You ever envision something like that?
Yeah, and the part of the Veggie project is that envisionment. Like I would say that we're already doing it with Quap Cares, Black to Life, Your Starting Point, Sisters Legacy. Like there's several organizations that we've worked with that we are, and to answer your question directly, I think it's just going to take time. Yeah. And because we are dealing with we're dealing with what I think post-traumatic slave syndrome is a good way to do it. Like the trauma and the scars and the abuse and the neglect. Like we have a lot of history of this to work past as far as working together goes, right? So because we have many people on different ideas of what it means to change the system, to whether they even want to change the system or just get along in the system or be a part of the system. Like how you go about changing. Like a lot of people believe that you have to be within a system and then you can create change within it.
We're not gonna all be on the one accord.
Exactly. So and that it doesn't mean that things can't get done, because again, we can actually get on one accord, but it's like what's the phrase, like staying in your lane, and not in a way like you can't do what I do, in a competitive way, but this is what you are good at. Like this is what the gift, like this is what you came here to this space to do.
Yeah.
And you be good at that, I'll be good at this, and we're on one accord in that respect. And it doesn't matter, both of our names will be on what happens. So it's not about this whatever competition level and all of our, and hopefully together that lets us heal our traumas by celebrating what we are individually good at, and using that to everybody's benefit. So that's why I say that the most direct answer is that it's going to take time, because we think about things so differently, because we all have this trauma to heal, and a lot of times people don't even want to admit that this trauma is part of it. It's definitely a part of the equation, and we have to start there. And this is again one of the other things about the Veggie project. Like, food is could be considered a great connector, because
it is.
Everybody eats. Like, this is one of our other mantras. Like, everybody eats, and in a statement of fact and a statement of movement. Like, everybody eats because we have to eat, and everybody will eat because we live in abundance. Like, if we work together on one accord, everybody can eat. Like, shouldn't be anybody that is not eating, and we shouldn't have this dichotomy of the same community that's a food desert has the highest rate of childhood obesity in the city or in the country or something. Like, how does that make sense? That this is a food desert, but there is childhood obesity, and there's hypertension and high blood pressure. That means that the food that is accessible is killing people, literally.
It is.
So all they have is corner stores. And
corner stores and fast food. So like riddle me that. How does it make sense? Like a fast food business, they see the value in the people in the community, and will say that, oh yeah, well, that, like, we can put a business here and it's going to be lucrative and we'll make money. But another a business selling the food so people can cook it themselves and make the meals the way they want to make them. Now people don't understand the value of food, and they don't want this food, right? Or they're not smart enough to understand what to do with the food, or they just gonna come in and rob the store and take the food from us. Like, no, like, we don't want to hear none of them excuses. And those are literally the real excuses that the equations that the grocery stores use to say that this location is not valuable to us. And when you are dealing in food, when there's a 40% food like waste problem, that 40% of the food from the farm to whatever spot that somebody is consuming it at, that, like, how, it gets thrown away. Like, how do you justify not giving access of this food when there are people who are starving?
And if they wanted to, they can create a system that they can do something with that food. They just rather throw it away.
Exactly.
Right, and they're showing you that they don't care, because they have the means, they have the food, but they don't want to give it to the people.
Right, and this goes back to the revolutionary. Why the work we're doing is revolutionary, because we take the they out of the equation.
Right.
We're not worrying about what they are doing, and we're not worried about it. We understand it. We've been within it and subject to it for a long time. And we also the other thing that we know is what worked for our ancestors, and that they were able to take care of themselves, so we too can do the same thing. So that's really where we at with the.
Because at the end of the day, all we got is ourselves, and we at the point. I think a lot of people right now at the point, like, I have to do this shit our damn selves. We done with depending on the powers that be or anything like that. So. I think the people are fed up, and they starting to, get involved. You have more and more people getting involved with your organization and other, like-minded organizations like that. People are fed up, and they won't change now. So,
if nothing else, COVID, Big Rona made us see.
Man, showed us the opportunity and the challenge. Like, problems are challenges, and opportunities for change. Like. That's just how you just have to look at it from that standpoint.
Right. Like,
we have an opportunity to slow down now, and that's really what it showed. Like, you got to slow down and sit down, not go anywhere.
Yeah.
you can now you have time to really think about it.
Right.
Like, and this goes back to the point that I was making before about the just thinking about a different system.
Right.
Rather than saying, you know what, this is the best system we can do. Let's throw as many bandages on this system as possible and just keep it trucking and hope that it's gonna hold on.
Bandages leaking.
Right. We're gonna put some duct tape on that hose and we're gonna keep it going. Now, does that work? Is it needed to have that kind of ingenuity and do that sometimes? Yes. But after a while, it's like, you know what, this engine ain't really working that good. Let me design a better engine.
Right. Exactly. So, as we get ready to, can you tell people how to find you, how to find out about volunteer opportunities, just in case they want to step out and volunteer with the Oakville Veggie Project?
Yeah. When actually is this? Can y'all tell me when this is gonna be public?
I should have this uploaded tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay, and I'm asking that because we have an event coming up this weekend. So if this was
This is his baby, so he'll be on it.
Yeah, I'll be on it.
Right on. So this you can find us on Facebook, just the Oakville Veggie Project. Instagram is OC Veggie Project, I believe. And then we have a LinkedIn page as well.
Okay.
Because you gotta have the corporate presence to get the dollars that you need, and we are we're building I want to build a situation where people feel motivated to participate with us and come through, be able to use their talents and their education to help better the community, even if they're on their way to doing something else. Like, I don't mind serving as a place for people to come in and hone their skills and then go on to the rest of their greatness. Like, that's what community is, right? So this Friday, there's an event that Feed Oak Cliff is doing, and it is at Keys Park. I believe it starts at 6 p.m. We're going to be there starting about 4:30 because we're going to be passing out the produce bags there.
Okay.
This is kind of like a holiday event, so they're going to have stuff for like clothing and toys and different things. Other community organizations will be able to come out and highlight what they're doing. And we'll be giving out the produce bags there. So I do need some volunteers for that to help pack the bags and then pass them out to the folks at the event. We'll be there at 4:30. This is at Keys Park in the Keys Park Recreation Center. That's off of Hampton in Oak Cliff.
Okay.
So 4:30 p.m. If you want to come out and volunteer, you can meet us there. Just hit us up on. You can message us on Instagram or on Facebook. If you have any questions about that. And then Saturday at 9 a.m. we'll be packing more produce bags that's going to go out to our community partners. So part of one of the other extensions of the food distribution program. So if we don't do one that's on site, we have several folks that come in. Like, we have a couple that comes and they pick up maybe 10, 12 bags. And they take that back to the homebound senior. Like, they know their neighbors and their community members. And so they come and pick up the bags and take them back to the people who don't have the means to come out and get it themselves, but that they know that need that. So they are about healing right where they are. We serve as a resource extension
that may seem small to some, but that's huge.
Yeah, that sounds like pretty much like we used to do. What we used to do, pick up bags, take it back to Fort Worth. Yeah.
But just your neighbor doing that for you.
I know,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, we have several. We have, like, I think two neighbor groups that come out and work in that means, and then several other groups that go and serve a different population that can't come to the distribution. So they pick up and then take it back to this other population, right? So Saturday morning at 9 a.m. The address is 5915 Singing Hills Drive. We'll need some hands to come out and make those bags, and then also make a few deliveries for us, because this is the health side of it, right?
Yeah.
With this year, we started working with a dialysis clinic. So people who are on dialysis, they have very strict dietary requirements. So we find out what those are. We procure that produce that is part of their diet, and we get those bags delivered to them so that they can start making the small lifestyle changes that lead to them having better health overall. And we're going to be expanding that program as we start to work with more healthcare systems within the city to find out what can we provide as a food operation to people who are on dialysis or hypertension or high blood pressure or anything that can be affected by dietary changes. We know pretty much all disease can be affected with food, with changes in your diet. So we're going to be working. That's going to be one of our other focuses on top of the education, and starting to get the urban agricultural programs into the school districts. And that's public school districts, that's private schools, that's charter schools. If you are educating children, this needs to be part of your program.
All right, so y'all heard that. Come out Saturday 9 o'clock in Dallas, and then on
Saturday 9 a.m.
5915
Singing Hills Drive to help us pack bags, and then Friday at 4:30, the Keys Park Recreation Center will be doing the same thing, packing some bags of produce to give out. On December 18th, we're having a on-site distribution at the same address, 5915 Singing Hills Drive. You can come out and help us kind of winterize and close out our garden, our community garden there, and then help us pack some bags out. And also, if you have a community organization and you're doing a toy drive or a sock drive or something to help out some section of your community, you can either have people deliver the things to that site and organize it there with us, and we can help make those deliveries. Or if there's something else you want to get out into the community that you have been collecting, you can bring that, and you can be part of the distribution as well.
Perfect. All right, guys, that's another service, and that's another wrap up right there. Before y'all guys go, please remember to go subscribe, like, share any of the videos on Black Empowerment Movement, our YouTube channel. We're still trying to grow the channel, so if you haven't subscribed already, please go subscribe to the channel. You like what you just watched, please share this video on your Facebook timeline. We got to get the word out because we bringing great guests like Ples.
Ples.
I did it. I do it. Ples. Hey guys, I be fucking people names up. Ples. Like guests like Ples coming on. So please subscribe, like, share. But hey, we out of here as always.
I want to come back too. Like, can we have?
You want to come back?
We're not talking about just all the work. Like, let's just have
just a talk.
Yeah, just talk about some other things. Like, there's so much to talk about. We can start bringing in. I can invite some more of the Dallas population, because I want like this divide between Dallas and Fort Worth. We got so many good people that are doing so much good work, and we are very much in the same situation.
We gotta bring them on. Well, we're gonna bring them back. Ples. I got it right this time. Ples. But we out of here, guys. All power to the people.
All power to the people. Peace.
Damn, Shasha.